Okay. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. It's my pleasure to welcome you to St. Peter's School Open House. I'm sorry that this year you cannot see us in person and visit our facilities in person. As we know, we are all under extraordinary circumstances this year, but it's my pleasure to present you our school in this new format. My name is Kristina Smolensky, and I'm the head of foundation years at St. Peter's. And as you can see, I will also be joined in a few moments by other participants from our school, teachers and leaders of other areas of projects at St. Peter's. As you know, St. Peter's School follows an IB continuum of international education for 3 to 18-year-olds. We challenge our students to excel in their studies and in their personal growth. We aim to inspire a quest for learning through life that is marked by enthusiasm and empathy. The Primary Years Program, PYP, as you can see on this graph, prepares students to be active participants in a lifelong journey of learning. The PYP is designed for students aged 3 to 12. It focuses on a child as an inquirer, both in the classroom and in the world outside. As you can see from the graph, after the PYP, Primary Years Program years, the students proceed to MYP years, which is our middle years program. It is designed for students aged 11 to 16. Further, the students progress to Diploma Program, DP years, which prepares students for success in higher education. The DP is an academically challenging and balanced program with final examinations that have gained recognition and respect from the world's leading universities. I am sure you have heard about the DP diploma before. We are a DP school since 2018. In 2019, we have applied to be a PYP and MYP school, and we aim to be so completely this year. In this way, we enrich our school project with the IB methodologies. Here is a graph showing you some more information about our primary years program. We teach our primary years program, PYP, from Foundation 3 class, which means our 3-year-old students. Even though you can see the 6 disciplines in the center of this graph, such as language, social studies, mathematics, arts, science, physical, social, and personal education, the PYP program works around cross-curricular themes. These themes are interdisciplinary, which means they allow children to overcome the traditional limitation imposed on by learning through subjects. And as you can see on this graph, the themes that we teach during primary years are who we are, where we are in place and time, how we express ourselves, how the world works, how we organize ourselves, and sharing the planet. It's important to know that at St. Peter's School, we follow a transdisciplinary timetable for our foundation years program. This means that the timetable includes weekly schedule planning, the amount of which varies depending on your child's age and grade, but within the weekly planning, each student can pick their preferred working method and can also determine the order in which they will do their work. You can see this on these pictures. Some children are working by themselves, and some children are working in groups on the activities that they have chosen by themselves. In this way, we assure that the children understands the relationship and interdependencies between different learning contexts and are also able to apply the knowledge that they have acquired by themselves in a collaborative setting with their friends. In terms of our curriculum, we do not follow a British nor American curriculum. We follow the IB curriculum that is revised yearly. We believe that curriculum should not be static and predetermined, but adaptable and dynamic. This means that this enables our school and our teachers to take into account both the changes in external environment and the needs of individual learners. Our current curriculum is inspired by the early years curriculum in many countries, such as Australia, New Zealand, Ireland, England, or Finland. I would like to introduce you now to our school project and the rationale behind it. Some years ago, we have asked ourselves this question: are we preparing our students at St. Peter's for 2020 or for 2040? We answered this question and realized that we live our lives responding to a world we know and understand but no longer exists. So what kind of world are we preparing our students for, and why does it matter to us as teachers and educators? Today, we live in an age of the fourth industrial revolution. The fourth industrial revolution is a way of describing the blurring of the boundaries between the physical, digital, and biological worlds. It's a fusion of advances in artificial intelligences, robotics, the Internet of Things, 3D printing, genetic engineering, and other technologies. As you realize, it's the collective force behind many products and services that are fast becoming indispensable to modern life. What does it mean to our students? We realized that for sure the blocks of life, learn, work, and retire have shifted 90 degrees, and how we move through them has changed as well. We realized that we need to focus less on preparing children for their first job and focus instead on preparing them intellectually, socially, and emotionally to continuously readapt, reinvent, and re-engage themselves in learning, because job losses in the future will be their norm. At St. Peter's, we commit to stop asking what. We will not ask our students, what do you want to do when you grow up? What is your major? Or what do you want to do for work? The job switching and leapfrogging that we observe in today's workforce is not random. Individuals move between different roles that are related and which build upon prior skills and expertise. But this reality isn't always reflected in the way that young people are encouraged to think about their working lives. Instead, many schools still keep asking students, what do you want your job, what do you want your dream job to be? At St. Peter's, we encourage our students to think of a bigger picture of skills that they want to acquire rather than their dream job. This takes us to our new motto, which is destroy the degree. Rather than making study and work decisions based on a narrow concept of a lifelong occupation, we want to encourage young people to think about the broader direction of work type they want to perform and to build a portfolio of skills that give them a wide range of options. This takes me to presenting you the learner profile of a student at St. Peter's School. As you can see from this table, this IB learner profile is closely related to the top skills recommended for 2025 by the World Economic Forum. A balanced learner requires resilience, stress tolerance, and flexibility. An open-minded communicator requires originality and initiative. A risk taker might need analytical thinking and innovation. An inquirer and thinker will need reasoning and problem solving. And finally, a principled and caring student will show social influence and leadership. With this table, you can see that the IB learner profile of the students we want to create at St. Peter's School is very closely linked to the top skills recommended for the future jobs. Part of our school project is what we call 3 times 30. Focusing our students on connections to real life means working towards the world they live in. So our syllabus is based on what we identified as the main 3 global problems that the world will face along in the next 30 years. We identified these problems as the generation of democracy, the growing inequality, and climate change. Following these 3 problems, at St. Peter's School, we decided to completely change the content we teach. According to our school project, the 3 challenges of the future world will be faced by our students by focusing on these 4 areas: factfulness, exponentials, change markers, and plurilingualism. It is my pleasure to introduce you to Ms. Tracy Stanbridge, and she will talk to you about how we practice factfulness at St. Peter's. Ms. Tracy Stanbridge is currently the head of literacy for Foundation Yes.
Hello, lovely to meet everybody. I will start to tell you a little bit about factfulness. I will go on to talk about critical literacy and then a little bit about our behaviour management system. In today's world, factfulness should always be at the forefront of the children's minds when receiving information. It is the habit of critical thinking. It helps us maintain a fact-based worldview and teaches us how to avoid the most common ways information is misinterpreted. Fake news, social media, and the images we see and absorb are just part of this. This critical approach to literacy is a regular part of our classroom practice. We try to teach children to look beyond themselves, looking at topics such as power, equality, social justice, overcoming biases about physical appearance, family composition, ethnicity, stereotypes related to boys and girls. We teach them to think about purpose and to read in a way that takes into account who the author is, what the writer's position is, where the information comes from, and how reliable it is. In the early years, we do this through picture books and images, giving the children the language to talk about what they think. In doing this, we're hoping to create well-rounded individuals that are able to sort through the proliferation of electronically transmitted media. It might also be interesting at this point to mention what restorative justice is. Restorative justice is the process we use at St. Peter's for behaviour management. After asking our students to consider their own feelings and reflect on their actions, we ask them how they can repair the situation and make things right again. Helping your child realise how their behaviour and actions affect not only themselves, but the other person is the beginning of understanding the importance of the we. This is just a glimpse of what we wish to achieve every day in our literacy lessons. And I would also be happy to answer any questions you may have about the phonics program we use or how we teach children to read and write in the early stages of their schooling at the end of this presentation.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tracy.
Thank you.
Okay. The second area of our school project is called Exponentials. Exponentials refers to an exponential growth in technology and science in the fourth industrial revolution. You might have heard of STEM. STEM is an educational curriculum that combines science, technology, engineering, and maths. However, what happens when you add in the A for art? You have STEAM, which gives STEM a whole new look and feel. Suddenly, a hands-on activity includes artistic ventures. This can allow students who don't feel scientifically or mathematically inclined to feel more comfortable representing their knowledge. Part of our STEAM project will be opening our Foundation Years Science Lab in 2021, where our youngest students will be provided with equipment appropriate to their age to tinker and explore. Part of our science teaching approach is tinkering. Let me explain what it is. Tinkering is a playful, experimental, iterative style of teaching in which children are continually exploring new paths and imagining new possibilities. It can seem undirected, as it is driven by children's own curiosity, playfulness, and iteration of prototyping, observing, reflecting, failing, and trying again. We also follow the newest research in neuroscience for children, and we recognize that children can quickly unlearn negative habits and routines and replace them with more positive ones, as their brains are constantly reforming their neural pathways at this age. Finally, The third area of our project is change makers. We want our students at St. Peter's School to become change makers. For this purpose, they will have to display growth mindset, grit, stamina, and responsibility. For us at St. Peter's School, grit is sticking with your future, day in, day out, not just for a week, not just for the month, but for years, and working really hard to make that future a reality. Grit is living life like it's a marathon, not a sprint. However, for our students, grit should be more than perseverance. Grit is interest, passion, and a continuing engagement with their pursuit. It is also hope, because gritty students are optimistic about the future and their ability to improve. It's not that we want children to see the world through rose-tinted glasses. We acknowledge that setbacks can naturally still discourage them. But we want our students to be willing to fail, to be wrong, and to start all over again with lessons learned. The final area of our project that we want to speak to you to and present to you is plurilingualism. Let me introduce you to Ms. Jane Smith, who is currently leading the plurilingualism program at our school.
Hello, everybody. Pleasure to see you.
Hello. Ni hao. Bonjour. Привет. Hola. Merhaba. Ciao. Hello. Привет. Labas. Hola. Hello. Hola. Konnichiwa. Shalom. 안녕하세요. Book. Hello. Hey. Arif. Здравей. Добрый день. Assalamu alaikum. Hello. Tara. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Well, as you can see, we thought we would let our children introduce themselves. You can see that we have a very complex linguistic environment at St. Peter's. In addition to the languages we use when we teach, we also welcome and value the many languages that our students bring from home. At the last count, our students spoke at least 25 different languages and our teachers at least 12. And while that has its own challenges, it also provides us with a wealth of learning opportunities. Over the years, we've had the chance to observe how our students use their linguistic competencies from a very early age, showing us how at ease they are as plurilingual speakers. Being plurilingual doesn't simply mean that they speak more than one language. It is much more than that. It means that they have many languages in their heads, which they use as a combined competence. At any given time, one or other language may be more or less dominant, depending upon who we are with, where we're living, and what we need to do. It refers to the fact that an individual can draw upon all of their languages to communicate effectively, and this may mean switching competently and effectively from one to another, if the situation requires it. Increasingly, research is backing up what those of us who are speakers of more than one language instinctively always knew, and that is that plurilingual speakers think and behave in a very specific way. We only have to observe what we naturally do ourselves when we switch between languages or come across new words. As far as children are concerned, this is no different, except that they have not yet learned to worry about making mistakes. To them, it's all just language, and what really counts is making themselves understood and understanding others. If we take a closer look at the skills that children develop as a result of being successful plurilinguals, they are in fact very similar to the skills that Christina discussed earlier. Let's take a closer look at what these might be. First of all, we need to understand that plurilingual speakers are complex beings. They're not a sum of their parts, but a different kind of whole. In order to deal with everyday situations, they develop a specific set of skills and attitudes. They think in a different kind of way. They use strategies, and many of these are effective for all kinds of learning, not just for learning languages. They're selective. They take existing knowledge from different sources, such as vocabulary they know in different languages, and decide which they need to apply depending upon the context. This can be highly creative. When we hear children mixing languages and making up words, we often worry that they're confused, but very often they're actually playing with what they know and exploring what they can do. In fact, it often shows that someone has a good command of language if they can do this. They make connections between what they've seen or heard before. They transfer knowledge and concepts with ease as they decide whether a word means exactly the same in one language or another. They need to make quick decisions as they speak, deciding which language to use and with whom, and when to change tactics if they're not being understood. It shows a degree of flexibility and the ability to solve problems rapidly. In doing so, they're also pragmatic. They're skilled at reading social situations and recognize and appreciate when someone doesn't understand what they're saying. They make reasoned decisions and informed choices. As they themselves have told us, language is for communication and should serve to unite rather than to divide. They know how it feels when you don't understand something and need help, and will automatically find ways to put others at ease. To do this requires empathy and open-mindedness. In fact, they do far more than just communicate. They mediate between languages, between concepts, between cultures, and between people. And that is the essence of what we hope to develop in our students. All of this calls upon the experience of the student, the expertise of the adult, and the empathy of all concerned.
Thank you, Ms. Jane. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed listening about our school project. And right now, as the final part of this presentation, I would like to introduce you to Ms. Carmen Escorcia, who is the head of admissions at St. Peter's School.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Christina. Thank you, Tracy and Jane. Now, let me briefly explain our admissions experience. We know how important it is for your family to decide on the best school for your children and the kind of community you are willing to join. This is why our objective in the admissions department is to help you weigh up all the different options so that your decisions can be taken with all the necessary information and advice that you require. The next steps for the admission experience after this virtual open house would be to schedule an interview with your child and our teachers for them to get to know each other. This will be a great opportunity to visit our school facilities in person, following, of course, the COVID-19 protocol. To organize this interview, you can contact us at any of these two emails on the screen. After the interview, and if you eventually decide to join us, we will be more than happy to help you gather the documentation required, sign the school family agreements, and understand the fees. In September, students who join Foundation 3 to 5 will start the first week of the month. The very first day of school is just for new students. They will have the opportunity on that day to meet with their teacher in order to facilitate the transition. Students in nursery 1 and 2 will start the second week of September. Before the school begins, the teacher will call you for an initial interview before it begins. They will give you all the details on how to prepare the children for the first few weeks. During the first months, our admissions department will work very closely with the heads of the states and their teachers to make sure that the children and their families feel welcome and everything is in place. If you have any doubts or questions at all during this period or any time later, we will be very happy to help you. We know how important it is for you to communicate easily with our teachers, and here at St. Peter's, you will always be welcome to reach us through email, by telephone, or in person. But for now, please remember that we are here to help you with any questions you might have concerning the admissions process. And this is pretty much what I had to say. Thank you so much for your time, and I hope to hear from you all.
Thank you very much, Carmen. Thank you, Tracy, and thank you, Jane. As a final note, I would like to invite you again to the virtual open house website that we've sent you with the email with this presentation. On this website prepared for the virtual open house, you will find a recording of this presentation if you wish to rewatch it later. You will also find some videos from our daily life, some information about our school facilities, a brochure of our school project, and any further details about the admissions process. And of course, we are looking forward to hearing from you and meeting you and your children in person. Thank you for your time today.